Hello.
I got it.
Yes. Welcome to
Under
the Fringe.
So I just had to like close it down and close my phone and go back. And then, anyways, this is through the web browser. The other way
perfect.
was the app. So maybe there's something wrong with the app. Anyways, it's all good.
But you're here. You made it.
We made it.
Technically, this is our first episode.
Technically, this is episode number 1. We're going to save this one for vintage purposes.
Sound bites, other hilarity.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
I think so too.
Well, we're really ready to talk about all this stuff. We've been preparing for a long time.
Many years.
Yeah. And we know exactly what all the hot topics are.
Well, we should tell people what this is about.
Yeah.
So this is 2 interior designers with a boatload of experience in doing a lot of things right and, frankly, a few things wrong. And then learning from them.
Yep.
From all of it. And so we're peeling back the layers, the onion of an interior design business and talking about sexy things like
making more money.
Oh, yeah, that's sexy for sure. Making more money, having more time in your life and not being in your business like 24/7.
Yep. Being more fun.
Having way more fun. Just having more ease in general. I think, a lot of people, you quote this a lot to me, and it's you'll know it as soon as I say it, but it's something like, if you own a business, but you're not making a profit, then you're an employee of your business and not an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
It's something like that. And I think that really speaks to a lot of solopreneurs in general. As a solo entrepreneur, and I have a couple of different businesses now, but one of them is an interior design business, as is yours.
Mm-hmm.
I think we both have a deep empathy for the lone designer.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of why we wanted to start this is because we've also, well, first of all, a little background. We both started out at a high-end design firm in San Francisco. And they had massive structures in place when we started. And we were just sort of taught that this is how this firm runs. This is what you do. And, we didn't ask a lot of questions. We were very busy doing a lot of projects.
Really busy.
Really busy. And I fully did not understand how amazing those structures and how important they were. Coming out of design school where you don't learn any of this stuff and then going into a business that has its shit together and you don't know. Like, I didn't know. I was a teacher before I became an interior designer, and that bureaucracy is a whole other situation. So walking into an interior design office that is, first of all, has $1 million clients walking through the door on the regular. So managing $1 million projects often, multiple $1 million projects.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. At the same time.
Yeah. And the reason that all worked with people, like you had been there for 5 years when I joined?
Uh-huh. Something like that. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's right. Yep.
And so, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, like, that is not a ton of job experience.
Yeah.
Right?
I had 2 years before that. So 7 at the...
Okay. So you were
maybe a couple years before. Yeah.
All right. So reasonably, like,
still,
you were well positioned to run some things, but there were people that had way more seniority in the company than you did at that point.
Oh,
you were
totally.
Still given a lot of responsibility.
Yep.
And part of that, if I look back, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think both of us have a deep appreciation for those standards because they did, in fact, allow us to step into roles that probably a lot more seasoned people would have been needed for if those structures weren't available.
Right.
And so, it was a lot of learning by trial by fire, like sink or swim time. But knowing that we had those things to fall back on, and like it gave us a roadmap. And now that we've been in the business, this is year 20 as a interior designer, and for me, and it's year, I guess, 27 for you.
Something like that.
So 47 years of combined experience, which is a little daunting to say since that's the current age I am, is, looking at other people that we know who are running businesses, we can tell when people are struggling and whether they're going to, like, success is defined differently by a lot of people, right? Like, it's so easy to say, like, whether someone's business is successful or unsuccessful based on
the metrics,
how much money, but for me, and I dare say maybe even for you, sometimes it's the time that I find more of a commodity that I enjoy than the money.
Well, time is our greatest asset. It's more than money. Everyone thinks everything's 100%. All about money. It's actually about time.
Yes.
Because that's the greatest luxury of all.
Well, and it's irreplaceable. So,
yeah, exactly.
You can always make more money. You can never get the years back. And so I think, if you're making a lot of money and you don't have any time to enjoy it, is that the trade-off that you want to make? I don't know.
Yeah.
And again, because everyone defines success differently.
It's like, what is the equation of your personal success?
Yes. And I think that's a really, well, and then that just takes us to our third, like, pillar of what this podcast is about, which is mindset.
Yeah.
Because not some, but I would,
all
of our success that we have, I think, and it's defined differently for both of us. Although I would suspect that most people, if they really sat down to think about it, it would be an amount of time and an aggregate of money that makes them feel comfortable.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Right. And then for some people, it's all about the money. But or the notoriety. I think that's
like the quality thing. Of the journey. That's some aspect in there, like the quality of the experience. Like you said, notoriety too.
I mean, and I think I remember hearing
like legend. Like, what's your what's it called when your legacy?
Right. And is that legacy like a Kelly Wearstler style legacy where, she's a celebrity in her own right and most of the world knows who she is, even though she's, an interior designer, which is not generally household names, although these days more and more common.
But not really.
Right. So I think, everybody has their own why for being in their business. But what I think the success of the business comes down to three things. It's the structure, it's the mindset, and what's the third one that we talked about?
Well, we always talk about structure and structure with mindset because you have one without the other. But you said something about third, and I was trying to figure out what it was. But those were the two things that we said this was all about because you need those two things together, like the mindset of a successful person combined with the correct tools is what you need to go forward.
Yes.
Or to expand. We always talk about expansion, like in order to expand and to create increase. It's those two things.
Absolutely. I think that those two, and I mean, I know that mindset is a word that is tossed around a lot these days. Mindset, mindful. So however you decide, or define that term. But being very intentional with your, well, okay, it is being intentional with your time and your money. That's certainly a part of it.
Yeah.
But what we have discovered with our mindset practice is also a degree of manifestation that doesn't come without the mindset. Mm-hmm. I mean, manifestation, you manifest everything, whether you're conscious of it or not. So what we want for people, is to manifest more time, to manifest more money, to manifest more joy. And those things are sitting on the shoulders of a mindfulness practice and a structure-based business.
Yep, exactly. Those are your tickets to freedom.
And so that's what we want to teach people, because it's all possible. And the thing is that it's not that anyone can't get there. Like, all this information is already out there. I'm not making any of this stuff up. It's not new. My superpower is research and collecting, and then being able to fluidly spit out, although that's not very fluid, but fluidly spit out a lot of information around a certain topic. And so you can go do your own research. No one's stopping you. Or you could hang out with us for a couple hours and learn all about things that we have discovered to make things easier for designers like you.
Well, and we've really come to understand that, we're in a minority of designers that received a certain caliber of training. I mean, we've worked at the best firms in the country, and that's not that common. So,
I also just, as Julie glosses over the best firms in the country, I need to point out that she worked for freaking Clota in New York, which I am always so impressed by, because Clota is at the same level as Kelly Wearstler, designer of hotels, many brands that designers know, from plumbing fixtures to lighting to furniture to rugs to fabrics. She is an international powerhouse, and Julie's so humble about her degree of experience and the places that she has, the celebrities that she's worked with. I'm sure there's some non-disclosure agreements there, but there's I always appreciate that you are quite shy about mentioning that, and I will forever toot your horn for you, because I think it's so awesome.
Yeah, no, it is. She's amazing. And New York City and what it provides is just incredible. But that's why we, wanted to create this podcast, is because there are a lot of designers out there who might not ever live in a major city like that, let alone work on the top level projects, the projects where, anything you could buy is possible. And so we just that's why we realized that this is important to talk about and share, and sort of is part of our legacy, is this sharing and teaching, because these experiences of these type of projects really gave us these tools that we have now. And, we really just want to share them with people and help more people create more success. I think that's a huge passion of ours.
Definitely. Well, I also think because, when we were coming out of design school and going into our careers, that was kind of the only path to interior design.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You apprenticed with somebody, or you got some skills, and then graduated and got to work. And I think that there's a lot of people today who are falling into this profession because they have talent, right? They're raw talent. And
there's a lot of resources on the internet now.
Exactly, right. So the need for school isn't necessarily there anymore, but it doesn't replace the skill set that you need for certain things.
Yeah.
And like it might be something that you could hire out, which we'll talk about, like which things are best to hire out and which things are best to acquire on your own. But because, we personally know so many people who have just sort of like did a house and they had friends that liked their house and all of a sudden they're, like that is a wonderful compliment to talent. And I think if those people ever got off the hamster wheel of becoming a designer and we asked them how it felt 5 years down the road, like, do they have more freedom? Do they have more time? Right? Do they even have more money? Because
guaranteed they're on some kind of a rat race.
Yeah.
And most likely 80% of that group of people is experiencing some level of burnout. And
financial losses. Now,
because for sure, that too.
Like the mystery of interior design is, one, there's no mystery of it. It's only mysterious because you haven't experienced things that other people have experienced, right?
Right. And proper training.
Yes. So, but the thing that I think no one, like everyone thinks this job is so glamorous.
And they always think it's fun.
Right.
As if it's not serious. Which it is, but it's very different than that perception.
Well, and I think there's like this persona of a designer that's like a well-dressed person, like really well-appointed clothing and haircut and manicure. And I mean, I would say 90% of my time in design, I am like at the design center running around for fabrics, wearing tennis shoes. My hair is in a bun. I may or may not have washed it that day. Thank God for dry shampoo. And like, there's no glamour. It's not.
Yeah. It's very hard work.
It is. It's really hard work. It is very satisfying. Like there's something incredibly satisfying about having a vision and making that vision become a reality and having people trust you. Like that is an incredible talent on its own, to have people come to you with trust and then back it up with dollars, right? Like, and it's not a small amount of dollars, but if you don't know what you're doing, those dollars could be flying out of your bank account faster than they're flying in.
Yep.
And so, and I think, somebody once said this to me and it's such a true thing, but I don't feel like it necessarily has to be this way. Like you can either go to university or you can start a business, right?
Yeah.
One way or another, it's an education.
Yep.
And the thing that we want to see is you don't necessarily need to spend, I spent $80,000 on my education. And it was worth it to me and I don't regret it at all. But if I had had the resources that are available now, I don't know that I would have spent that money in the same way. Like that's a down payment for a house and or a house where I live, but it's a down payment. It's on the way to a down payment for a house for a lot of other people. And I think that, but you still have to have some kind of education, whether you're giving it to yourself and it is just a series of trial and error. And I mean, failing is the best teacher. Like failure is one of the best ways to really remember how not to do something.
And I just always remember, because of where you and I worked, that the way they were set up, there were so many tools in place for everything. And we always collectively shared all of the different pain points that everyone experienced.
Yes.
And that is how we created this library of tools, because we were basically drawing from everyone's experience, a group of, I don't know, 20 or 15. So that was very powerful to do. And I think that's also why we like the podcast format, because we've always realized that good design is done in community.
That's so true. And that was another big push for us to launch this, because good design is done in community. And again, there are so many people out starting a business. And I mean, I think one thing that, again, a mindset trick that I learned a while ago and I still live by is there is enough work for everyone. Like even if 100,000 more people decided to start a design business, there would still be enough work. So it's not about the competition. It's not about like being better than somebody else. Although I think striving for excellence is important. It's not about tearing someone else down so that you can get a job. Like the connection to a client, people hire us because they like us and they trust us. And they like our work. But if you had like a really stellar portfolio and kind of a stinky personality, like you're not going to get as many jobs, right?
It's a lot of relationships.
It's all relationships. I think that's one of the things that as a tenet of my business for sure, is maintaining good relationships. And I think that the piece that, because there's so many solo people out there, that we feel like we can't have a community because we are in competition. So if we erase the competition and we come together, and I'll just say a sisterhood, because for the most part, from my perspective, this is a female-driven industry. I know there are plenty of male interior designers, but you know, we predominantly know mostly women that are doing this.
Well, I think because a lot of the projects tend to be inside the home. And so I think it's naturally, women are naturally drawn to that aspect of it quite a bit.
For sure. And I think that oftentimes, and again, not always, like these are just sort of generalizations, but most of the projects that I work on are with another woman. Like it's a couple that own a house, but usually it's the women that are driving a lot of the design and project managing, working closely with the designer as the, sort of their project liaison.
Advocate.
Yeah, they're kind of like minding, like, we're presenting, but then they are the ones that are either the decision drivers or, so I think that those connections also lend themselves, like the camaraderie between women is so strong, like creating a tribe amongst interior designers, especially female interior designers, removing that element of competition and creating a sisterhood is incredibly important.
And I think the mindset around the difference between thinking you're in competition and then versus thinking you're in sisterhood are very different energetics. Like one is very much rooted in lack and the other is rooted in abundance and unlimited possibilities. So
yes,
I think we feel pretty strongly about that. And I think, not everyone realizes that they might be thinking that way.
I mean, just to go off on a tiny tangent, our society has pitted women against each other for years because the patriarchy knows that when we come together, we're so powerful.
Right.
It sounds like such a simplified, distilled idea and, that one sentence. But the truth is that women are incredibly powerful. We are earning more money than previous generations. We are huge decision makers. We are policy changers. We are powerhouses in our own right. And, you know, while it's awesome if you're part of a power couple, I think even the days of that are not, like the need for that isn't necessary because women are sometimes out earning men. And I, again, not to what's the word I'm looking for? Forgot it. But not to negate the pay gap that many other professions undergo when women are in positions of power. Their ability to become a high earner and even a breadwinner amongst their family set is really high. So, you know, celebrate the sisterhood, celebrate the sisters. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the party.
Welcome to the party. And I mean, I think that's the other part is that like we are such geeks about business and how to do this in a more effortless fashion. And it is fun for us. So I hope that, you know, people will enjoy the ride and the giggles because there are quite a few. We see, and we also seem to have an unending ability to chat about things. So there's that as well. So it's not always going to be just the two of us talking, although that would be completely possible.
I'm sure
but
we be a good amount of that.
Yep.
but some special guests because we've really worked with some incredible people over the years. So I know we want to bring them in at some point.
Yes. And we also want to have some women on who have started businesses and learned some tips and tricks along the way and have thriving practices now. That are rocking and rolling and really are inspiring and doing great work in the world. So, and I feel so lucky to know all of the women that I know. Like, it's funny when people are like, so who are most of your friends at? Oh, pretty much mostly interior designers. And I've just managed to surround myself with like the best people.
Well, and I also think, you know, with regards to the not being in competition with each other, I remember when I was talking to Restoration Hardware and maybe talking to some of the showrooms. And I remember they were saying that out of their sales, like, you know, Restoration Hardware or some showroom sells furniture and fabrics. And they were saying that only 10% of the people that were buying have interior designers. So, I mean, the homeowners are majority out there on their own buying stuff with no supervision. And so there is no scarcity. I mean, all those people could get designers, you know?
They could. I often wonder, like, for me, again, I like the scarcity, even with the homeowner buying their own stuff. Like, I just think when I hear that, like, that's not my ideal client.
But I think a lot of people just don't know that they need a designer. I mean, I think most people don't understand what it is, first of all, and that they need it. And so I still think that there's a tremendous amount of opportunity in that space.
Yep.
And the more I would be more than happy to help, you know, generations of designers come up because there is no shortage of work, like, at all.
So true.
Yeah. And so there are a lot of reasons to be excited.
Yeah, so many. So, I mean, some of the things that we're going to talk about are how to get your ideal clients, how to set up your business for success.
Yep.
If you are a solo practitioner, but you're really busy and you're feeling the need to hire, like, when do you hire someone?
Yeah.
and how do you grow your business from that standpoint? Like it oftentimes is a really hard, scary proposition to think about, like supporting another human or several.
Yeah.
But the people in your business are not, they're not money sucks. They should be profit generators.
Yeah.
So again, that's just a mindset.
Yep.
Right? You just flip that switch. And if you looked at everybody like, oh, I'm going to have to support you. No.
Yeah.
They're going to support you.
Yep.
So, and then we're also going to talk about some of our favorite mistakes.
Yes. Might as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Favorite mistakes. Also, we love to do brags around here. And so we'll be bragging and having other guests come on and do some brags.
Yeah, because I think a lot of what we teach and talk about is breaking the misconceptions around what success is.
Yes.
And bragging is one of them. I mean, if you don't keep track of what you're doing and accomplishing and growing and expanding and increasing, if you don't talk about it, then how are you keeping track of it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you do need to keep track of your successes. But I do find that these are the types of things that people really resist doing, or they're not used to it, or they're not used to it in a workplace or whatever.
Well, we're also taught that like women shouldn't brag, right? Like that seems to be like an old, like a boys thing. Men can brag all they want to, but if women brag, oh, she's too big for her britches.
Right. Exactly.
Right. We get shamed for bragging.
Common. Yep.
And so, thank you, Mama Gina, for introducing us to the Not So Humble Brag. That is a celebration of achievement and a celebration of being a very capable human. And, and I, just an example, like some of your brags might be like, I got one client time bill done today. Like that for me is actually true. I got one client time bill done today. And that's all I set out to accomplish more than that. And, it didn't happen, but I'm going to take that as a win because I'm one step closer to getting my time billing done for this month. So, and then, I brag that clients that have been MIA just reached out today, and other clients that had been on hold also reached out.
Amazing.
Right? So, even in a recession, like how do you recession proof your business? You don't recession proof your business, you recession proof your mind.
Yeah.
And the business will keep coming.
Yeah.
And so, these are, and like, you're already working hard in your business. We just want you to work hard on the things that are actually going to net you the shit you want. Yeah.
Exactly. And what really moves things forward.
Yeah. So buckle up, buttercups, because we are we are coming at you from under the fringe.
Yep.
So all the fringes, whether it's a curtain or a pillow or bullion, eyelash, you name it, whatever.
Or bangs. I feel like when I say fringe, people think of a haircut.
Well, there's that too. Yeah. I think they're, all the fringes are
everyone
possible.
Knows what we mean.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why cheekily we decided to call it Under the Fringe because we knew that designers would be able to appreciate what we were talking about. It's not,
for sure.
This is not a podcast for outcasts, which that's somewhere else. This is for all of us who are still trying to figure it out. And and if we do it in community and we do it in sisterhood, we do it with mindfulness and structure, grace will follow, profit will follow, time will follow. Like all these things are possible.
And we're going to dig into our first topic this time next week.
Yeah, let's do it. I like it. So see you then.
All right.
All right.
Till then.
Good talk.
All right. Bye.
Bye.